Esiku dédé àsìkò yìí. Hello everyone, it's Aderonke again. Today I'd like to respond to a comment. Usually I promise, that I'll respond to them, and many times I don't have the time. But I'd like to respond to Cam's comments, and I strongly believe that for the people that require further clarification regarding incantations and how they work exactly, if you need something a little bit more detailed with practical examples that is separate from this video that I've already made on incantations, this is the right video to watch. Let's get on with it. First, I'd like to read Cam's comment. So I think Cam left this comment on my third video on incantations, and the question was, and okay, I'll just read it in his own words. One small question though is that if we are to think of incantations as the chanting of a spell, then the statement in this video isn't exactly a spell, but perhaps a statement made within a spell. Could your next video on offer include a complete spell, so to speak? It will be interesting to have spells for different situations, such as for when being attacked, when attacking, when traveling and such. And my reply was, Yoruba incantations are as simple and straightforward as they come. For one, a statement made within a spell would still be a spell. However, there is no mother spell that this incantation was gotten from. It is a complete incantation in and of itself. And I don't think Cam agreed. He said in his 2019 paper titled Incantation as a Means of Communication in Yoruba Land, Eégún Aláré as a Case Study, Tajudeen defines an incantation as a combination of carefully arranged speeches or words in poetic form, and its use makes things work miraculously as the users wish. Several full incantations are presented in that paper. You might enjoy reading them and using them for inspiration in your next video. And I said, that's not the right definition. An incantation does not have to be poetic in and of itself. It just has to be used metaphorically. A person may choose to arrange a set of carefully selected similar incantations that may apply to a particular situation and use them continuously in the exact same order while praying, which is pretty common. I will make a video to clarify. So I would like to clarify this statement, probably make it a little bit even better. Review Egúngún Aláré itself. Okay, actually I can't review the whole book, although I have it open in one of my tabs here. I think this is the full book, and maybe one of these days we'll read it together. We just do like a reading session and we read it. It might be a live video, it might be a recorded video, whatever the case may be. I feel like one of these days we should check it out. So this is the article that Cam is referring to, Incantation as a Means of Communication in Yoruba Land. So this is it's not really long. I think what happened was, and probably why I didn't respond as soon as I could, because his comment is about 2 months old. I was sort of nervous about the fact that it could be really long and it would be tiring, but it's not a long article. I think it's a peer-reviewed journal article, and it was just included as a part of a publication, so it's not too bad. It's not too bad. It would be a long video. It would make this video rather long, but I feel like it would be enjoyable and worth it. So read the abstract and the introduction, because I think that's where Cam is getting his from. When you see a peer-reviewed article, you tend to believe that much more than you would a YouTube video. So I can understand where Cam is coming from. as a means of communication in Yoruba land. Eégún Aláré as a case study. Just look the author up and see what I can find. So Tajudeen Bolanle Opoola is a prince of the Ologwebi dynasty of Sanyìn, Oyo State. He holds a PhD in applied linguistics and currently is the acting dean of the Faculty of Arts at the Federal University in Ekiti, Nigeria. He has more than 40 journal articles and books to his credit. As a linguistics, English, and Yoruba language teacher at the college and university levels, he is presently an associate professor of linguistics at the Federal University, and he has traveled far and wide across more than 3 continents of the world for academic conferences and oral presentations. So I've not looked him up on social media or anything. I don't think that would be, professional or anything. But, it's someone that I'd like to connect with. Already I'm impressed. These are just 2 of his publications linked here, but I think he has quite a number of them on ResearchGate. So, he has really, I'm particularly enjoying, even the abstract of this seems interesting to me. So, with an article like the sexualization of women and, the study advocates for equal treatment of men and women without unnecessarily differentiating them, based on sex. So, I think that tells you something, doesn't it, about where his head is at and what he's thinking and all that, because sometimes you would discover that not all writers are exactly equipped for what they are writing on, but from his resume you can tell. Introduction that he has, said that he was the acting dean, but I discovered that I think last year or so he became the dean. I'm just going to so this is, I believe this is an updated picture of him, and he's now the dean of the Faculty of Arts. So that's exciting. It shows you that not only is he growing academically and professionally, he is growing, he is doing further research. I mean for you to be promoted to the dean, that's something. So this is someone that I would like to meet. I'd really like to meet this Baba and have discussions with him. So whenever that's going to happen, that would of course be when I go to Nigeria. It would be really interesting to see. But let's not lose focus. Let's go back to why we're here in the first place. So I'm going to read the introduction and sort of clarify one. I'm not going to use the word correct because that would be wrong, but I'm just going to say things a little bit differently so that people like Cam will not be confused. And the Harry Potter approach to incantations really has to be eradicated, because what you see in Harry Potter is, if you say something, if you were supposed to say abracadabra lebrucra la kurupa prupra, and instead you say abracadabra le prupra kurukuru papra propra, it's very likely that as opposed to turn into an handsome prince, you may turn into a toad, and it would take some magical figure to return you to who you were, or you might stay that. And I think that's the case in other fantasies, especially the ones that that revolve around witchcraft and stuff. It's like if you say something wrong, as opposed to turning into powerful figure or this or that, or Princess Charming or whatever, you might turn into a toad, an ant, a jog. And so that is not exactly how Yoruba incantations work. As long as an incantation is a statement, Okay, let's read what Cam read and then we will clarify. So the abstract is the following. Yoruba oral literature is of three categories, namely chant, song, and recitation. This paper, therefore, focused on incantation as a means of communication among the masquerades in Yoruba land, with its data drawn from Eégún Aláré, a Yoruba novel. It is a combination of carefully arranged, okay, this is where Cam got it from. Incantation is a combination of carefully arranged speeches or words in a poetic form, and its use makes things work miraculously as the user's wish or words that make human wishes come to reality with immediate effect. As the user's wish or words that make human wishes come. As the user's wish or words that make human wishes come to reality with immediate effect. I don't think I get this part, but you know, the point is made. That is not exactly true. I've explained it in the offer video. An incantation is a statement. An incantation is a statement. A reference. Incantations are a set of statements, and you can call them references. An incantation is said before and sometimes after a wish to buttress it. A well-known, well-accepted fact is stated to aid or ground the belief that the wish can come to pass. Because dash happens, dash will happen in my case. Because the sun rises from the top, from the sky, and no one can look at it directly for long, you will be powerful and you will reign over your enemies. You will be powerful and you will reign over your enemies is the wish. Because the sun reigns over all of the earth, when it's out, its presence is recognized. Wherever you stand, your presence will be recognized. Whenever the sun here, as a reference, as an incantation, is a statement. It doesn't have to be a set of statements. It doesn't have to be poetic. It doesn't have to be flowery language. It doesn't have to be, it's just a statement of a fact. It's a fact that is, and you know, there are a lot of incantations in this article, so we will get there. It is not you may, like I explained in my reply to Cam, and where it is, you may take a set of similar incantations, use them together in the exact same order. You don't have to. Many times when you take about 2, 3, 4, 5 incantations that are similar, you tend to use them together before stating a prayer. Or maybe you mention some before your prayer and you pray, and you mention some after your prayer, just because they are similar and they work with that prayer. There is no rule book that states that one has to come before the other, or if you say okay, for example, and it's in this article as well. If you say before you say your prayer will still be answered. You can take similar incantations, put them together before praying. You can take a statement, you can take 2, you can take 3, you can say 4 or 5 before each other, or you say the 4th one before the 5th one, or the 3rd one before the 4th one, and rearrange how you use them depending on when and how you're praying, and it would still work. So don't be confused by this. This is extremely confusing. When you say that it's a set of carefully arranged speeches or words in poetic form, it's not, it doesn't necessarily have to be. You may carefully arrange it with a prayer, but the incantation itself is just a statement, a fact. It doesn't have to be carefully arranged in any way. Many times it can't even be. It's just you state a fact, you pray. You may then carefully arrange it with a prayer, and then you say another incantation, and then you say another prayer. Even the careful arrangement part is not exactly necessary. As long as you say the incantation, you say your prayer, it is how the prayer comes through you. There's no rule book for if you don't say it like this, it will not be answered. The opposite effect will come into being. It has to be. We'll talk about it more. Before Christianity and Islam gained prominence in the Yoruba society, Alárìnjó masquerades were among the well-known traditional public entertainers, and during performances, incantation was often used to know who is who among the masquerades. However, Christianity and Islam have made the use of incantation as a means of communication during masquerade performances a thing of the past, and what used to be a family profession in the past is no longer so, because members of the Oje families who were in charge of this cultural profession in the past have now been converted to either Christianity or Islam, who many times, this is true, or have been negatively influenced by Western education. So I think what Daddy is saying here, what Baba is saying here, is that it is in fact true. The Alárìnjó before there were TVs, before there were radios, before all that. Okay, fine. At night, elders would often entertain the younger ones with stories and tales. So that was a thing, when it got dark, and the Egúngún masquerade. Even I don't particularly enjoy calling Egúngún masquerade, because the British definition of masquerade, it doesn't exact. It's very insulting. Even if you think about it, when you call Egúngúns masquerades, Google dictionary, because I don't know if there are any other dictionaries that describe it better. A false show or pretense, the wearing of disguise, a masked ball. So it would be something like, I think this person is either okay, that's not Lady Gaga. It's very demeaning when you call the Egúngún festival masquerade festival. It makes it look like a joke. They started it, and Nigerians just picked it up like that. The act of wearing a disguise is masquerade. It's not the person who wears a disguise. So even if you were to stick with the English meaning, that is wrong. But the Alárìnjó performers wear costumes to perform. So it's okay. Maybe this is time for me to briefly differentiate between the Egúngúns, because Alárìnjó performers still exist in Nigeria. They are not everywhere. They're not common or anything. People have televisions to watch, and they have iPods and such to listen to music through. Not everybody, but people have other means of entertainment. At least you have a radio in Nigeria, so even if it's just one in a whole household, depending on your income and where you live, people have other means of entertainment. So they don't necessarily, it's not in high demand, but you can be sure that Alárìnjó performers still exist in Nigeria. Now, because we say Eégún Alárìnjó, Eégún this, Eégún that, people just classify all kinds of Eégún as the same. There are Eégúns that are departed souls. Now, if you have any idea of how psychic mediumship works, you may be able to understand the concepts a little bit better than someone who doesn't know how that how that works at all. So, the Ifa divination is made. A departed soul says they want to manifest themselves, so that they would be able to visit their people, whether it's once a year or two times a year. Instructions on what should be added to the Eku. So if you're making the Egúngún, and I don't like to use the word costume because, again, it makes it look like a joke. English just demeans these things. Whether it's the imprint, whether it's, the lion face, whether it's the instructions are given, or, those who are within the Egúngún cult. Now, if you say Egúngún cult, the word cult has a more negative connotation than union. So that's another problem when you're using English. But anyway, the person, the persons who have the right to wear that, and usually would be from the Oje family, the family that really, handles matters related to the Egúngún and such, the families that practice it actively. They get the instructions, they choose the people who can wear the Egúngún, they do all the rites, and whether it is the incisions that they need, they get qualified. So whether it's once a year, whether it's twice a year, whenever the spirit decides to visit their people, it could be, the time would be chosen, whatever the case may be, the right person will wear the Egúngún. Now, that cloth is definitely we are losing our powers as Yoruba people, because that cloth absorbs the spirits of the late person. So as soon as the Eku is worn, and with the medium's body, the Egúngún is able to talk and express themselves and give instructions and warn and say, don't do that, or in 2 years this would happen, or in 3 years this child would be born, and that child will be this person. That is when it's the real thing. But because they are performers that also wear disguises, they are also regarded as Eégún, but you call them Eégún Alárìnjó. Alárìn is to walk, Jó is to dance. Alárìn is like someone who walks and dances. Alárìnjó is someone who walks and dances. So they are performers. It's not necessarily the mediumship, departed soul coming back to visit kind. Those ones don't. The spirit of a late person isn't invoked on them or anything. They just wear those disguises and do lots of unbelievable tricks. So they can shape shift many times. Many times they can become something else, change their sizes, do all kinds of tricks. But those ones are performers. Sorry, I was going to say performances. Performers. So during the day, before the advent of TVs and televisions and all that stuff, they were the entertainers. There were singers and dancers, aluba, tankanka. There were other performers, but people would watch their performances and sometimes even get carried away, and many parents would want their child, their children to go in or go do their chores because they're just so entertaining. So just to reiterate, the Alárìnjós are the ones that tour on foot, because Alárìn is walk, Jó is dance. So they would go from city to city, from town to town. They would walk and perform, dance. Jó is dance, perform on the way and entertain for pay or for some kind of reward. I feel like I should talk about them more. It won't be in this video, but even
when it comes to Yoruba politics, you know, if there's something going on in the village and the king wants to drive everyone's attention away from it, or the leaders are planning on something, or, you know, entertainment as a political tool for distraction, it's as old as, you know, as as day, you know, really old. Everyone migrated from Africa. It's a scientific fact. So I feel like I don't just feel like, you know, I know that we started it first. Alárìnjó, you know, you look at the performance and you forget what you're supposed to be talking about. You forget the complaints and protests that you're supposed to be doing about some kind of wrongdoing that you suffered as a people. So there were good kings and there were bad kings, you know, but I don't want to go into Yoruba politics in this video. I just want to mention that they were also a useful tool. Those Egúngún Alárìnjós, the performing ones, okay, not the departed soul made manifest in a human body, in the body of a medium temporarily ones. No, those ones will, you know, you would see them in all their beauty and valor as well, and they would dance. They would, you know, they would practically become a human again using someone else's body. That is why there has to be a form of like secrecy. You can't totally make a show of it. There are many reasons why, you know, the eku is in use. There's a sacredness to it, so you cover the person up. You know, the person is put in a disguise. It's a spiritual thing, but this is not the video. Even with the performers, there's a form of sacredness with the tricks that they would do. You know, they would learn ancestral tricks and they would do things with ancestral powers. They would like display their might. So if you're from the J family and you've, you know, inherited powers from your maybe shape-shifting powers or some other kind of powers, when you're performing for reward, for pay, and many times, you know, for nothing at all, just because, you know, it's just a family thing, a family profession, usually would be, you would expect some kind of people new to reward them, you know. Even if the Egúngún says, oh no, I don't, they would still take the money just because, you know, it's for pay or for some kind of reward. So they would, with the powers that they've inherited from their parents, from the ancestors, they would, some would, and it's in the Eégún Aláré book, you know, some would turn to snakes and they would become humans, and they would become beautiful ladies, and they would return as Egúngúns in Eku. You know, we don't get to see these things these days because, and I wish those things were documented, but again, I don't know if, you know, they could have been documented. But anyway, I'll just move on at this point.
This study nullifies the communication chain, as the person to whom incantation is directed does not need to understand the language of the person that uses the incantation, as the feedback would be the effect of the incantation in positive or negative form. The essence of this paper is to promote Yoruba oral literature through formal documentation of incantation as a Yoruba linguistic verbal art. So I think that last part is that, you know, if you direct an when there's a setting that looks like a battle setting, people would often direct incantations at each other to make their wish. You know, you can make your wish to God and hope that God would answer your prayer. And whether you're asking for a blessing or asking that God punishes somebody, you can direct it to God. But amongst the Yoruba people, there are situations in which people will direct those incantations at themselves and make wishes. In cases like that, though, those wishes are aided with charms. At this point, it's not just the the verbs and verbs rhetoric, which is quite different from what I explained in the offer video. In situations like that, in battle-like situations, maybe some village is trying to overpower another village, or an Egúngún is trying to display their power and exert dominance, which is what Eégún Aláré is sort of about, not necessarily about, but which is included in Egúngún Aláré. Incantations would often be said mixed with, charms, charms aided by certain herbs, and the effect would be constant. So I don't know whether to even compare it to anything magical, or maybe that would be a very good way of explaining it, but yeah, that's a thing. If you look at even movies, even present day movies, whenever they want to like depict old warlike settings, you would see a lot of face-offs, Tanyo, ìwọ kìnìkan kìnìkan, èmi kìnìkan kìnìkan, bẹ́jà bá sọ lódù àrílẹ̀. You see a lot of bragging of their power, and then the use of incantations and wishes and wish making aided with charms. Somehow the results are immediate or almost immediate, but that's a different thing entirely. So the introduction is as follows. In Yoruba society, sanyìn, who is a deity, is presumed to be the god of medicine, hence is regarded as the father of herbalists. Sanyìn communicates with both animate and inanimate creatures by means of incantation. Incantation can be defined as the combination of carefully arranged speeches or words in a poetic form created by our ancestors in order to communicate and make things work quickly as they wish. Incantation, I've disputed that. That's not necessarily the case. The way that our ancestors did it, like I said, they would combine 2, 3, 4 incantations that relate to the same thing. Kind of, once you have to face the same challenges constantly, and life itself is a battleground, but you want to pass that method. Many times they would combine incantations that are similar and pass them on, and maybe sometimes because descendants heard them use it in that exact order, maybe they said an incantation which is a statement, and another one after. They just that same thing has happened with Otabawi Fogbo Logbongbo, because people would often, our ancestors would often say it in that order for no specific reason. They could have said Otabawi Fun Ogba Logba Gba, Otabawi Fogbo Logbongbo, and it would have worked. But because many people heard their ancestors say it's for the rhyme effect, or maybe that's just how the human brain works. It wants rhyme. Many people tend to use that before, but nothing instructs that it cannot be used differently or combined with more incantations, or we can have one deducted or whatever. So you can, if you wish, carefully arrange incantations in a way that they rhyme, maybe depending on what the last syllable is and how it rhymes to the next syllable of the next incantation. You can carefully arrange incantations, but in and of themselves, incantations are just, an incantation is just a statement. In and of itself, an incantation is just a statement. You can now carefully arrange it in such a way that it rhymes, or you sort of arrange it with certain prayers and you pass it on to your child and say, you can say it that way. When I say it this way, it works for me. Or when I say it, you know, some other way, it works for me, and whatever. And if they want to follow your style, you know, mention the say exact same amount of incantations that you mentioned before prayers, do things the exact way that you do out of reverence for you, you know, as the father or as a mother, they can do it that way. Incantation may also be regarded as words that make human wishes come to reality with immediate effect. Not necessarily. Even prayers may not always come into reality immediately. A true fat priest will tell you, you know, that even after the divination is done and you know you've done it the way Ifa's instructed, it's really up to your own ori to decide whether or not, you know, that prayer, that wish can come true. Many times though, even with divination, if I would tell you, don't even bother, this is not going to work, or yeah, if you do it this way it will work. So the immediate effect thing is only happens when you use Ogun charms. So and like I said, I don't really want to go into that very much. So this parts here don't necessarily aren't necessarily true. The Yoruba people believe that there are two types of incantation, namely Oforere, good incantation, and Ofo Buburu, bad incantation. I sort of agree, but I just have to say that incantations are just statements. Abiyamo ki gbekun omo re ko ma tati were. A mother does not hear. I've addressed this in the video on this channel. A mother does not hear the sound of a crying child and not pay attention. That's just a statement. You may then use it positively to say, oh, because a mother does not hear the sound of her child and not pay attention, please dear Eledumare, pay attention to me, you know. So you've sort of referenced the fact that mothers mothers always pay attention to their children, so you won't go. So that's the incantation. If you say the proposal, whatever proposal that I'm only mentioning the ones that I've already addressed so that you don't have to worry so much about it, so that you can go check them out, because I know the anticipation kills certain people when I say, oh, I'll talk about this in a new video, and they they don't see the video within the next few days. Alagemo, you know, whenever the chameleon makes a proposal, you know, the wish is always granted, which means you know, the chameleon can choose to, depending on whatever surface that the chameleon is on, the chameleon can choose to either be the color green if the chameleon is on a plant, or a color brown if they're on a tree. They have the ability to change their skin color. So that's a powerful thing. So, and I think amongst all the other animals and beings, okay, let's just say animals, because I can't speak for the plants. I don't know that much about actually. It would be flowers in that case. I feel like there might be certain flowers that can change their colors on their own. I'm not sure. Maybe it would be dependent on the weather. Anyway, my point is, you can use the chameleon as an incantation. So you can take, like I explained in the offer video, you can there are four you know, ways of getting incantations. You can get them from nature, you can get them from societal observations, you can get them from history, you can get them from you know, different. I mentioned 4 standard ones, and I feel like those 4 pretty much cover the Yoruba people's sources of incantations. So I'm just gonna let the ad play, and then I'll just show you the 4. But I encourage you to watch the video on incantations if you haven't seen it yet. So incantations can be historical, they can be related to spiritual beliefs, narratives regarding the human and non-human incarnations of deities, especially regarding their victories and strengths. They can be associated with societal observations, and they can relate to nature-based observations. So yeah, in and of themselves, in and of itself, as a statement, as a sentence, as an incantation, it doesn't really say any. Many times, they're just neutral statements. They're just known facts, but you can then use them positively and negatively. So I agree with this part to a degree, but in and of themselves as statements, good and bad is subjective, right? Good and bad is subjective. It's up to the discretion of the incantation sayer, the user of the incantation, to decide whether or not they feel that this fact, this reference that they've made, this incantation that they've said, is good or bad, and use it in a way that applies to either good or bad. Both are useful in one way or the other for human existence. In order to render any type of effective incantation, personal names of both living and non-living things are not only essential, but inescapable. An example of incantation is presented below. The Sanyìn Deities eulogy, shown below, confirms that he's the god of medicine among all the other gods. So I went through this briefly earlier. This is not an incantation, this is an oríkì. This is an example of, maybe below, because below later on he does cite some incantations from the book, but this is an the issue with calling again, I'm about to go into another rant about using English words to describe Yoruba phenomena, because what it results in is a problem. Eulogy is not necessarily oríkì. A speech or piece of writing that praises someone or something highly, typically someone who has just died, is eulogy. So when you say oríkì, many times oríkì is often either amongst, because there are many Yoruba phenomena that don't have perfect English translation, so we just pick one English word and call it a day. Eulogy doesn't cut it. Neither does praise poetry. Oríkì should remain oríkì. And if anyone wants to know what that means, it can be defined for them. Many times, oríkìs are intended to praise. So maybe eulogy and praise poetry are close, but because I am maybe because I'm a 7, my life path is 7, I'm extremely obsessed with details. If you look at oríkì in and of themselves, the statements, they don't always praise. And part of an oríkì could be elamoko mi obodo jeyega. But that's part of the oríkì of a town. Anyone who belongs to that town, that place, is not really expected to eat the ega bird, because those birds have rendered them favors in the past. Or even where I'm from, Igbajo Iloro, Omalagogo mem, oríkìs are historical. Apart from the fact that they may praise, which is just a tip of the iceberg, they also tell a story. They tell a story. You have to remember. And one thing about the Yoruba culture is, we are very oral. We like to write as well and such, especially in the modern world, in the present day and such. But with the way that our ancestry is built, we tend to have good memories, and we tend to pass things down orally. So if we were like the ancient Egyptians that you see, and many ancient Egyptians Okay, because ancient Egyptians were not only made up of one set of people, all kinds of people made up ancient Egypt. Now, some of them left from Yoruba land. People like to say that because they found some, maybe with the DNA and such, they found some um, similarities or maybe links. They strongly believe that the Yoruba people came out of ancient Egypt, or we came out of Sudan, or we came out of any of those neighboring countries. Not necessarily. They instead came out of us. They used symbols and such, and they were, more willing to document that way. I feel like it took us a bit, well, maybe not necessarily, because we use symbols as well. Maybe they're just not as fantasized about as they are in ancient Egypt. But the way that we would pass things down is oral. So we would, and even with, for those who are studying Ifa, you might be wondering why aren't there more books about Ifa? Why isn't, it's because we're very oral. We're just recently changing and becoming people who like to write. So if you go to an Ifa priest and he tells you to recite Jati Baba ń tìkọ̀lé ọ̀run bọ̀ wálé ayé, and then you recite ọjọ́ tí baba ń tìkọ̀lé ọ̀run bọ̀ wálé aṣọ iyì ló mú bora, and then the students say aṣọ iyì ló. Some people may not like that. Like, why do I just give me a book and let me read it on my own? But that's not really how it works with us. We like to use our memories to their full capacities and document things orally and pass them on, whether with songs or with chants or with statements, speeches. So with oríkì, there's oríkì that is a name. There's oríkì that is that is oríkì, because I don't know whether to refer to it as eulogy or praise poetry, but there's oríkì that is somehow, eulogy and praise poetry are somehow contained in that kind of oríkì, in which you can tell someone a lot about themselves through the words that have been documented orally. So Ìgbàjọ Ìlórú ọmọ alágogo mẹ́mú, it shows you that sometime in my where I'm from, in Ìgbàjọ ọmọ alágogo mẹ́mú, we are fun-loving people. This is the agogo. The agogo is the bell. The agogo is the bell, the traditional bell. Now, all of this are modern bells. I think I found a picture of it, a traditional agogo. Actually, agogos may look like this, especially if you've been to the Ocean Festival. All of these look modern, And the agogo, maybe one day I'll talk. Actually, not maybe one day, soon I'll talk about the agogo and how it has spread into other parts of the world. As you can see, it's even on an English website, so it's I suppose it's pretty common now. And the uses, so this was very essential to the person that would announce, the town crier. So they would say, "Kéré o, onílé lálejò, ọba ní kí yín, ọba ní ṣe yín pẹ̀lẹ́, wọ́n ní kẹ́ má jáde láàjìn o, a fẹ́ ṣètùtù, kí ìlú lè tùbà kó lè túṣẹ́, ṣé mo wí rí àbí mi ò wí rí?" So the town crier would often use the agogo as well. But ọmọ alágogo mẹ́mú means that my people were they loved palm wine, all right, and they lagogo mẹ́mú probably means that now I don't know if we ever traded palm wine or we were just fun-loving people that would ring bells and drink palm wine and chill. You know, it is when you listen to more of that that you listen to the complete story, or as close to the complete story as you can get. So while you everyone generally accepts that oríkì, you know, are to praise, you know, just to remind you of who you are and where you are from and who your people are, and that's a kind of praise in and of itself. It doesn't always praise. Okay, sometimes it tells you something, you know, it doesn't always appeal to the ego. Sometimes it tells you something shocking about your own lineage. Sometimes it tells you something interesting. Sometimes it tells you something that, if you think about it a different way, is really a defeat that has been rewarded. Maybe at the time your people suffered a defeat, but because of someone, you know, you regained your power and such. So Ibadan, the oríkì of Ibadan, Ibadan nílé Olúyọ̀lé, ọmọ àjòròsùn, ọmọ àjẹ̀gbíjẹ̀ karahun. Àjẹ̀gbíjẹ̀ karahun is not necessarily a praise, you know. Some people from Ibadan, it's just saying that in that lineage they would, and many times they're not always literal, okay, sometimes they're metaphorical. Àjẹ̀gbíjẹ̀ karahun is to eat the snail and eat the shell of the snail along with the snail. So it may be a metaphor for something, you know. It may be the fact that maybe they they don't like to let anything go to waste. You know, it's very interesting what that would mean. Sometimes even people who have oríkìs don't bother to ask about, like, why is this included. Sometimes your oríkì will not praise you. You know, it's really an annoying fact. Maybe it won't be an annoying, you wouldn't say annoying, but a fallibility in your lineage that is carefully worded or represented by a metaphor to show you what kind of people that you've come from. And I believe not just so that you know, the deeper meaning is so that you know how you can hone that, and more importantly, correct that. So this is not the video for oríkìs because I'm going to get distracted, but just know that this is an oríkì, you know, and it's not really. Okay, for this one, the oríkìs for orishas tend to be eulogies. The oríkìs for people, not always. Not for orishas, you want to praise them, you want to appeal to them, so you don't say. Many times you can even speak about Shogo's anger in an oríkì for Shogo, but you won't again, you will say it in such a way that is rewarded, that is, you know, you reward it so that it is a praise. Let's read this together. Ọ̀sán yẹn wele alùpèsè bákújà ó ṣíṣu àrùn lára ọkùnrùn ewé lọ́wọ́ ewé lẹ́nu àbí gbogbo ara kìkì oògùn kò sóhun tí ò lè ṣe a lè pa lè jí lè pa ó fóògùn bákújà ó bù mú ó bùwẹ̀ ó bù mú ó bù sórí kò lóúnjẹ méjì bí ò ṣàtàrí ó sọgbà ewé dọ̀kan gbogbo ara kìkì oògùn ọkùnrin àlá tí fi gbólẹ̀ fóògùn ọkùnrin afewé ṣe ohun gbogbo tó wù ú bàbá àwọn ìṣègùn. So the translation of that is Sanyìn the Great, who beats the ìpèsè drum to fight death. It removes the dress of disease from the sickler, lives in hand, lives in mouth. His body is full of medicine. Gbogbo ara kìkì oògùn. Kò sóhun tí ò lè ṣe. There's nothing it cannot do. It can kill and revive. It can revive and kill. It fights death with medicine. It drinks, it bathes. It drinks, it pours on the head. It has no other food than alligator pepper. It makes 200 leaves become one. His body is full of medicine. The great man that leaves bushes for medicine. The man that uses leaves to do whatever he likes. The father of herbalists. So when you discover when you translate oríkìs to English, they lose their depth. But this is part of, you know, a set of words that, a set of sentences that praise a song. especially the way that it is written in the book. So if you are listening to the oríkì of Osanya and you hear Osanya wele gbogbo ara kìkì ogun obumu obuwe obumu obusori alupese bakuja, then you hear baba àwọn ìṣègùn, then you hear ewelenu, and you just hear it randomly, and the person rearranges it or adds more sentences or says it in the dialect that they wish or says it differently. Don't be like, no, that's wrong. The way that Baba has written it in the book, or the way that it is written in Eégún Aláré, it has to be with this arrangement. No, I think that's what I'm trying to correct with this video. From the above eulogy, it can be submitted that the Sanyìn deity can be seen as the alpha and omega of Yoruba traditional medicine, and that this deity can manipulate herbs to perform both negative and positive functions. For example, information in lines 3, 7, 10, and 18 shows the deity's tradomedical obligations to human beings. So you see, it can kill and revive. Many people tend not to look at the dynamic of deities. People would like to see Oshun as one who gives life, not one who takes. Just be certain that deities, as nice as they are, with the help that they offer, they're not to be played with. If you do something that warrants that your life be taken, okay, but you can be certain that the deities will come for you. If you hurt somebody using their powers and they don't like it, or you've practically done something that doesn't really comply with the law of the universe, you can be sure that you're going back to Yoru, you're going back to Yoru, where you're from, you might come back, but you need retraining, so earth is no longer for you at that point. People tend to look at death as a terrible, painful thing, but really what goes on after death is far more interesting than what happens or not. So yeah, I don't think of death as, oh, this tool of punishment or anything. Sometimes it could be a tool of blessing. Sometimes it could be a tool of the soul's elevation. Sometimes it could be, you don't always think of death in the defeating way. So let's go on. I was thinking about just skipping this part, but let's read it together quickly. There exists a number of scholastic contributions on African oral literature, among which is masquerade chant. No, don't do that. Among valuable contributions on oral literature are the ones of Ogundokun 2017, Kayode 2017, Elegba 2018, Akimbode 2018, Adeyinka and Adegbolu 2018, and Bangboshe 2017. So Bangboshe is the name that people that are from the Shango, that's from a family of Shango worshippers would bear often. So Bangboshe is give me the Oshe. So if you are a Shango devotee, Bangboshe is one name that you can bear, or that you can again, you don't just give your child a name based on a YouTube video, okay? Again, I've not talked about names and orikis, we'll get there. But this is a very elaborate Oshe Shango. There are that one looks ceremonial. Yeah, they look like this, just Oshe Shango. They look like this. Two-headed would I say ox? Ose is Ose. Okay. So while this research work is on the use of incantation as a veritable means of communication during rendition of masquerade chants, Ogundokun 2017 discussed lamentation as literary device and pointed out its recurring decimal in African literary creations across generations from its inception pre-colonial and post-colonial periods, especially in Nigeria. So if you really haven't read the book, this part will look like, you know, gibberish to you, so I'm sorry. Kayode 2017 also commented on the negative influence of Western and Arabic education on the preservation of Yoruba traditions, especially oral literature and performance. In his words, the domination imposed by a foreign minority, racially and materially inferior autochthonous majority in the name of dogmatically asserted racial superiority. That is actually Kayo, I don't know, this is their last name, so they could be a female too. In the submission, Elegba considered oral literature as means of conflict resolution. This assertion was proven in some of the masquerade performances in the analyzed book in this study, Eégún Aláré. Though there were tests of mystical powers, Alárìnjó was finally rescued from being swept into the river when he magically turned into a python. In a related study, Akinbode 2018 worked on dirges Iyala as a means of Yoruba communication. In his presentation, he made the following statement: Rimoje is a medium of expression to explicate the complex phases of language as a stylistic phenomenon in Yoruba communication process. The authors use different stylistic devices that quests for ensuring better understanding of their genre while performing the dirge. The masquerade chant and performance is embedded with praise singing of individuals and groups eulogy, oríkì, that, again, we've talked about this, that attracts the audience attention in oral poetry, described in Adeyinka and Adegbolu as attributes, epithets, or appellations, a collection of pithy epithet or elaborated statements which are addressed to a subject. So, Bang Bushe 2017 believes that we need language to promote people's cultural heritage. Yes, apart from being an essential part of people's heritage, language and oral tradition are markers of identity in the sense that they represent what is peculiar to the people concerned and culture. Some writers have written on incantation in Yoruba land. For example, Adeoye 1969 examined incantation as one of the genres of Yoruba oral literature. Ola Bintan, or Ola Bimitan, 1971, worked on Ofo and Ayajo, two categories of Yoruba traditional incantatory poetry. Fabumi 1972 compiled a collection of some incantation in Yoruba land. Olabintan 1974 considered symbolism in Yoruba traditional incantatory poetry. Olatunji 1984 focused on incantation as an important aspect of Yoruba oral literature and also classified Yoruba oral literature into three categories, namely chant. See if we can make this a bit bigger. No, that was a fail. Okay. Namely chant, song, and recitation. According to him, incantation comes under recitation. Another writer is Berkeley, 1986, who elaborated on Yoruba medicine generally, but without special reference to incantation. See also Agbaji 1989, Agbaji 1993, Raji 1991 too, makes a collection of Ijile Ofo, Ogede and Asan, different types of incantation, but it does not discuss the functions of any of them. So, yeah, Ijile Ofo, Ogede, Asan, these are deeper aspects. Ogede is like it's somewhat like incantation too. The functions are just the incantation is incantation. The functions and the uses, situations where you would use them may sometimes differ. There are some really next level incantations. Many times those ones are not always taken. Those ones become, metaphors. Those ones are used metaphorically, so those ones are more intense. Okay, less less literal. In addition, none of these writers attempted to discuss incantation as a means of communication in Yoruba land. In this paper, we focus on incantation as a means of communication. The data we used were drawn from Eégún Aláré, a Yoruba novel written by Lawi Oguniran in 1972. In the novel, the characters used incantation as a means of communication between them. For instance, in Data 1, incantation was used by Alárìnjó in the novel to free his chained son, Ojelade, from Python. Did you say to free? Yes. Back to human being. To turn, like to free from being a Python and return to being human. That, okay, so this is incantation 1. Let me see if I can draw on this. This is incantation 1. This is incantation 2. If you say, and this is to can, if you say before you say it's correct, it's not wrong, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that often people will say this before this. Incantation 3, okay? These are separate statements that have only been combined because, again, you have to recognize that this is from a book. This is not, it's from a novel, Cam. It's from a novel, you know, it's not something that has been handed down by the ancestors directly instructing that incantations are only complete when they follow this method. This is just a combination of incantations that are similar. Ojelade parada odeniyan. See, the name of the son of Ojelárìnjó is Ojelade. So this is a prayer. This is a prayer or a wish. Let's just call it a wish. This is Ojelárìnjó's wish that his son becomes human again. Like I told you, sometimes they would shapeshift and they would, it's like Egúngúns wanted, performing Egúngúns that have ancestral power, wanting to show off and show out, I guess. And sometimes they encounter troubles with that when it comes to just using. See, the problem with just using powers recklessly and unnecessarily is things like this, you know. You turn your fellow Yoruba person to a python, or maybe they turn themselves to a python as a means of displaying their strength, and they don't really know how to make themselves human again. There was a lot of that in the olden days, you know. Situations gone bad. Ashe koribe. This is a wish. Ashe is you know, may it be so, may that happen, may my son Ojelade become a human again. So this is a wish, this is a wish. These 3 are incantations. So if you say Asheto Akitolubawe Funle Nilegbo, Otabawe Fogba Logbangba, Otabawe Fogba Logbogbo, it's still those are 3 incantations. You may just then choose your own way of using them. If you say Otabawe Fogba Logbangba, it's still correct. It's still correct. It's just that usually for the rhyme effect, it has a rhymey effect, which appeals. You know that our language is tonal and we like rhymes too much. Far too much. We love rhymes, so we like to make things rhyme. Torí pé wéré làṣẹ pín mugba. Torí pé wéré làṣẹ pín mugba. Wàrà ṣẹ̀ṣà làṣẹ ọ̀nà mẹ́sẹ̀. Ojelade gbéranlẹ̀ òdìdé. This is incantation 4. Pé wéré làṣẹ pín mugba. This is incantation 4. Wàrà ṣẹ̀ṣà làṣẹ ọ̀nà mẹ́sẹ̀. This is incantation 5. Ojelade gbéranlẹ̀ òdìdé. Okay, I don't know why my thing is not. This is incantation 5. This is a wish. Okay, why are you doing that? Anyway, this is incantation 5. I want to see if there's a way that I can do 5. Okay, this is incantation 5. This isn't 1, this is 5. And this is another wish. So, this is how it has been written in the book, but this is not a spell. You have to, please do not call off a spell, please. Please don't do that. Because then you start to think of Harry Potter. Please don't do that. Awful, it's awful. Spells tend to be at least the way that I've seen it in Hollywood fantasies, just gibberish from maybe old Latin words or old Aramaic words. You know, you just say them, abracadabra, lecupra, lamalablamlestanta. You know, and there's the who with the fire and the fireworks. No, please don't do that. It's far different from how it works with us. This is not us. So don't think that if you say Ojelade Parada Odeniyo, which is a prayer, which is, it's not an incantation, it's just a prayer. But let's say, don't think if you say Tori Pewerewere La Shekwi Muba. If you remove the Tori, for example, if you say Pewerewere La Shekwi, excuse me, I don't know why I'm laughing. If you say Pewerewere La Shekwi Muba, and you cancel this, you cancel this, you take this, you combine. Don't say, oh, I've gotten it wrong, now I'm going to turn into a toad, or now my prayer won't be answered and it has become a curse. No, that is not how it works. That is not how it works. This is a book, and this is how they've chosen to arrange these incantations in the book. There's no complete and incomplete spell. What is that, please? Don't do that. You can take statements, combine them the way you wish, and use them in that order, or use it in a different order, or switch it up, or do whatever, or add more. But there's no, some spell. It's the old witch gave me abracadabra, kubra lama santara, kule karabrada danda. And it always has to be recited that way, or else everything will go haywire. No, that doesn't apply to us. The translation of that is, what we tell Ogbo is what Ogbo hears. What we tell Ogba is what Ogba accepts. The command that Akitolu tells the earth that it hears is what it hears. Ojelade transformed to a human. Now he's using his ashe to speak to his son directly. You know, Ojelade, become a human. Parada, change and become a human again. He's using his ashe. It's a wish. It's also a command, The Yoruba prayer is not, oh dear God, please God, make my prayer be answered. I'm begging you, oh God. No, funny enough, this thing is in the Bible as well. It's just something that Christians have never realized, unfortunately. I've given you authority. I don't know whether to tell you that in Yoruba. I've given you a shek. That's it. I'm giving you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions and to overcome all the power of the enemy. It's in the Bible. It's like everything that is important is ignored, So don't say, oh dear God, I'm begging you, let this work for me. You've been given the ashe, stop yet. But anyways, it's not really my business. The Yoruba prayer is not begging. It's not, even ashe is not so shall it be. It's so will it be. I have a terrible writing device, so yeah, for some reason it just give me an I. Okay, whatever. I suppose okay, what is this? This is supposed to be an L and an L and an I. So will so will it be, not so shall it be. Because it is with immediate effect that the command of Ipin catches the calabash. Without delay, the command of the road holds the leg. Now, I don't know if it is Ipin or Ipin. I don't know what. It's from a book, right? And they could have been. Now, I would find where it is in the book, but I suppose, I'm tired and I don't want this video to be longer than it will be because I'm not even done. So let me just go straight ahead. Without the lay, the command of the road holds the leg. So what that means is because of gravity, when you put your leg on the ground or on the road, it quickly accepts it. You don't float in the hell or anything. There's again using gravity. I've told you that incantations are sometimes nature based. When you put your leg on the earth, on the ground, it accepts it quickly because of gravity. So they're using that as an incantation here. Without the lay, command of the road holds the leg. Ojelade, rise up. The terms is far spent. Or John Law is like the day is going or is getting late. So the terms is far spent may be like an elaborate way of saying, time is going, just stop and just become human again. Okay, so this is a flowery language. The above incantation shows the above incantations and prayers. Incantations. Now my S won't work. Stop it. Okay. How do I get it? The above incantations and prayers because they are prayers or wishes. The above incantations and wishes show a positive assertion, and a positive assertion in Yoruba incantation means things should be done the way they should be done according to our forefathers and sanyìn, the god of medicine. The above incantation performed the function Alárìnjó wanted it to perform. Alárìnjó is someone who walks about, someone who, it's sort of like in present day language you'd say someone who tours. It's a very interesting name, but with Alárìnjó, then it was usually by foot. It's not like they had a tour bus or anything. So it's in current times that you say someone who likes to tour on foot or something. Alárìnjó wanted it to perform by transforming his son from python back to human being. This incident confirms the superpower of incantation as a means of communication in Yoruba society. So like I've said, whenever there is a fate, sometimes you don't, many times you say incantations to people to create an effect on them. Okay, it's not all the way that we pray or we state our wishes. You can state a wish to somebody using your own ashe with the hope that will come to pass in them. So you can, Alárìnjó in this one was talking to his child and commanding his child to become human again. So it's wish making, but now you are combining your ashe and instructing it on and placing it on whoever you're talking to. With face-offs, it's often the case as well. Another occasion where incantation was used as a means of communication was the time Ojelade refused to pay homage to his audience. Instead, he recited the incantation below to silence them. The incantation is drawn from Oguniro. Akirafẹ́fẹ́ mú, akiromi mú, kò sẹ́ni tó lè mófo. Torí afẹ́fẹ́ lẹ́gẹ́lẹ́gẹ́ lórúkọ bàbá èjì. Ẹ̀fúùfù lẹ̀lẹ̀ lórúkọ bàbá òjò. Kàkà kéjì ó pa mí. Èjì á dẹrù á máa lọ. Àgbìn sínú ni tegbin. Akùn sínú ni tẹ̀fọ̀n. Ọ̀rọ̀ hùn. People say ọ̀rọ̀ hùrùhùrù. Inú ẹlẹ́dẹ̀ ní gbé ọ̀rọ̀ tó bá ń dùn ìjímèrè. Ọjọ́ tó bá fojú kan alápinni ní túká. So, no one catches the wind, no one catches water. Akirafẹ́fẹ́. This is incantation 1. Okay, I may not be able to draw because I'm having issues with that, but Akiromimu, this is incantation 2. Koseni tole mofo, this is incantation 3. Ori afefe lege lege loruko babeji, this is incantation 4. Efufulele. So these are all separate in the book. The author has chosen this arrangement for the character to state this is not don't think that there's a rule book that states anywhere really that states that, oh, because you said akira fefemu, it's incomplete if you don't say akiromimu, and it's incomplete if you don't say koseni tolemo. You're not, it's not like you're taking a part of a set, it's not like you're just taking a part of a spell. No, this, I'm using Cam's words now, spell. This is incantation 1, this is incantation 2, this is incantation 3, this is incantation 4, this is incantation 5. Kakakedio pami. Eja deru amalo. This looks like a wish. So this is a prayer. This is a wish. This is not an incantation. This is incantation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is incantation 6. Agmisinu ni tegbi. Akosinu ni tefo. You know, elephants, they make that sound. They don't talk. They don't really make any vocal sound. Their sound is very nasal because of their trunk. They don't really, you know, they're not like parrots, of course, that give you concrete words. They just go. You know how elephants go. So one b, that sound b is like to murmur. I think that's another word for me. It's like to grow. Sometimes it could be to groan. Yeah, it could be to murmur, it could be to groan. So that's what that means. And I think that's, I'm just going to leave explaining it, you know, because the translations, or, you know, as close as possible anyway, the translations are provided. You know, this is another incantation. So each of this, if you say akira fefemu, that's a complete incantation in and of itself. If you say akiromimu, that's a complete incantation in and of itself. If you say koseni tole mofo, tori afefe legelege loruko babeji, these are separate, independent incantations. They are only combined in this book for the character because that is just how the author has chosen to go by. It doesn't mean that, oh, this is the complete spell. And if Aderonke comes online tomorrow and she says Akira Fefemu, but she doesn't say all of this, she has said the incomplete. Okay, so at this point, I believe I've answered Cam's question. So if you say Akiromimu and you don't say anything else, you've just stated, congratulations, you've just stated a complete incantation. If you choose to say all of this, if you just choose to say Afo, if you say Tori Afeveleg, if you say and many times when you've said the prayer, maybe you forgot to say the incantation before, or maybe you're just choosing to say the incantation after, you would use the word Tori. I don't think I talked about that in the offer video. If you say Mofeko ma gbomi, Mofeko gbomi, I want him to hear me. Let's say you're doing a love thing, you know, you're doing a love related and I'm trying not to use an English word here, but I suppose I have to. Let's say you're doing a love spell and you're saying Mofeko pe mi, Mofeko to ba ti gbohun mi, Mofeko ma wa mi. You know, if as soon as he hears my voice, I'd like him to try to come back and maybe even rekindle the relationship. You can say Mofeko ma gbohun mi. They say Tori, you know, because, or it's like now you're trying to reference something. Tori or Tori pe abiyamo kingbe kun omo re ko mata ti were. A mother does not hear the sound or the cries of a child, you know, of our own child at least, and not, you know, pay attention like what's going on with my baby. So you're using that as a reference for what you're doing to your ex so that it will come back. But you've already said the wish and now you're saying Tori because now you're referencing. So I believe that in the offer video I may have stated that incantations come before, but that's because that's usually, you can say incantations after as well. You say Tori because, you know, this happens. You can say I want this to happen because that happens, or because that happens I want this to happen. It works. So no one catches the wind. This is an incantation, a complete incantation in of itself. Incantation 1. No one catches water. Incantation 2. No one catches vanity. Incantation 3. Because the wind is the father of rain. Incantation 4. Wind is the father of rain. Again, this has been translated to English, so I don't know, but just trust me that each one is a complete incantation that has been arranged by the author the way that they've chosen to for that character. It doesn't mean that if you don't say all of this when you're saying it, if you say Akira FM, oh, that's incomplete, now I have to say Orohun. Even if you choose to use all of it, you can say Agbesinu Nitegbi. You can say you can say Tori Afefe Lege Loruko, but you can rearrange it. You can take some, you can take all of it, you can add more in your own prayers. Okay, so I believe I've answered Cam's question fully, but let's keep going. I don't know if I should. Okay, yeah, we're almost done. Oh, thank God. Thank God. Anyway, let's go on. Instead of rain to fall on me, it will disappear. Yeah, this is the prayer. I think in the story, if I remember correctly, it became a crocodile. And it's kind of like a taboo for when you're shape-shifting and you become a crocodile. It's a taboo for rain to fall on you. See, the Yoruba that I teach is the simple beginners one. By the time I start to acquire more wisdom, because that's really what I'm here to do as a 7, you know, by the time I start to acquire more wisdom and I start to share them, you know, I feel like I might need a second channel, because then I wouldn't be, you know, teaching. I would expect that I would be speaking Yoruba all through, and I would expect that you would know what I'm talking about. Maybe I would subtitle anyway. So, but this is, just know that this is Yoruba lessons with Adiroke, not really Yoruba culture. I try to incorporate with the lessons, because really you can't teach appropriately without talking about the culture. But there's really more to the Yoruba culture than you even see on the internet often. The wishy-washy new world, new age approach to deities, to the culture, to the people is not it at all. I don't want to take any more of your time. Let's just keep going. Egbe is known for inaudibility. Efo is known for murmuring. Murmuring abounds in the stomach of a pig. Whatever bothers a gorilla, the day that it has contact with Alakmini, it is resolved. So lines 1, 2, and 3 of the above incantation show the use of negative assertions in Yoruba incantation during interactions. Akirafefemu, for example. This was why I was saying. I think the Baba Ani here tried to correct himself, because he said show the use of negative assertions in Yoruba incantation during interactions. Incantations are not in and of themselves negative or positive. Okay, that was why I reluctantly agreed, because I really don't want to in any way, please, I don't really want to. I'm not doing this as a bid to rubbish what my father has written here. Okay, I'm just, you know, discussing it. Okay. I mean no disrespect. Akirafefemu, no one catches the wind. You can use this, but now in this case, you know, Ojelade was using it to sort of like, you know, fight his audience or whatever. But Akirafefemu, no one catches the wind. It's just a statement. It's not in and of itself positive. If you want to use it positively, you can. If you want to use it negatively, you can. You know, if you are running, let's say you've stolen, you involved yourself in an armed robbery, let's say, you know, burglary operation, whatever the case may be, you don't want to be caught. Most of the time, though, you can't just say the words and expect that it will work for you. Many times, you kind of have to get the charms. Please don't call them voodoo. They are Ogun, okay? And they are prepared. It's like, it could be Olugbon, which is like usually like the horn of a cow or something, usually the horn of a cow. You can have some other kind of charms with you that have been prepared so that whenever you say words into them, the effects are constant. Not constant, they are immediate. When you say a wish, many times the effects are not always immediate, but you can go the extra mile with the use of Ogun, with the use of charms. But I'm not going to tell you to go into that, so please ignore that, okay? Because many times people tend to go an extra mile, in a bid to get power, and so they deviate from Ifa. They deviate completely from the good morals that Ifa teaches, and they start to do all kind of spiritualism that really Ifa doesn't really rate at all. So this is not the video. Okay, so I've said that incantations cannot be inherently positive or negative. They're just statements. You say no one catches the wind. That's an incantation. You might choose to say more. You can say akiromimu. No one can hold water. Or if you like, you can say akiromimu before you say akirafefemu. Whatever you wish. If you choose to say, let's say as opposed to you're a thief, you're running from your place of oppression. If you are a victim and you're running from people who are trying to kill you, and you're saying no one catches the wind, it's positive for you, okay? It's positive. As a matter of fact, for an armed robber that says no one catches the wind, okay, it's positive for them as well. Good and bad is subjective. Good and bad really is subjective. It's up to the user. It's up to the person who thinks something is good to use it good, and if they think it's bad, to use it in a way that suits them, I suppose. Ojelade used these negative assertions to make his wish come to reality. He combined the negative assertions with the positive ones in lines 8 to 12 in order to make the communication between Ojelade and his audience each free. After the above incantation, a group of masqueraders in the village revolted against him. The masqueraders warned Ojelade of his actions, but he did not listen. Instead, he continued to transform into many things during his magical performance. When Ojelade transformed into a big crocodile, the village masqueraders used magical power to deny him from transforming back to a human being. The rain fell heavily on him, which is a taboo, and he was carried later away by erosion to a river in the village. In the data also, Duduyemi brought out a big horn, Olugbo, from his pocket. This is what I was talking about earlier, the brought out a big horn part. There's a charm, Ogun. Ogun àtẹ̀yàn lè ṣe sí ìwo màálù tá à ń pè ní Olugbo. But I'm not trying to teach you that. From his pocket faced, actually there's nothing bad about that. I don't know why I said I'm not trying to teach you that. It's just not in this video, and I won't be the one to teach you. Obviously, what do I know? I'm just a child. I will be inviting people that are sort of more active practitioners. So, but not yet. This is the baby stage. From his pocket faced Ojelade and chanted some incantation quietly as if he was soliloquizing. Nobody heard him aloud during the recitation. He later commanded Ojelade to speak out again. The aftermath of this incantation chanted against Ojelade by Duduyemi led him to be barking like a dog, and his tongue was rendered useless. So this was when Ojelade, turned into oh, see, Enia. I've not talked. It's supposed to be Eniyan, but this is the old Yoruba text. The way that we write certain words have changed. Again, Yoruba wasn't always a written language, so the writing of the Yoruba language has significantly evolved. You see, like the way that certain words are written. You see, you see that Enia, for example, that was the old way being Neo. But anyway, that was when Ojelade became human again, and this was when Ojelade became a crocodile. Odi Oni, you know. Ojelade Parada, Odi Oni. So, yeah. In this book, there's a lot of shape-shifting and transforming and the use of incantations and charms and powers and ancestral powers and such. I feel like before the year runs out, I should read it chapter by chapter, and then we can talk about it and maybe have some fun. All these are clear indications of the efficacy and power of incantation as a means of communication in Yoruba land. In dated 3 below, I share to use incantation positively to rescue her husband, Ojelade. Iṣu kìí ta kó gbàgbé òǹgó. Àgbàdo kìí yọmọ kó gbàgbé ìrùkẹ̀rẹ̀. Irukere. Now, you for those who have been watching my videos for quite a bit, you might see some words that are familiar. This is what they are referring to as Irukere, because what it translates to is a matured yam does not forget the yarn set. The maize cob does not forget its horse tail. I understand that the translations are translations, but it doesn't, you still may not get it. It's like, extra. Okay, maybe not. Yeah, there's explanation and there's translation. So it's just translated, not necessarily explained. For those who are IFA practitioners, at least, at least you have one Irukere line somewhere, in your house. But anyway, this is what they're referring to as tassels. This is what they're referring to as the Irukere. This. So I'm just going to wait for the. And sorry, I thought I would mention that if you see that the sound of my voice is not necessarily matching the speed of my mouse or so, please don't be mad. It's a really old computer. This is what they're referring to as the Irukere. The tassel. And I've spelled it wrongly here because I was Russian. Tassel. So this is what they're referring to as the Irukere. This is the traditional Irukere. Whenever you see a mature corn cob, when it's ready for, harvest, this stuff, these tassels would be at the bottom of the cob. So, yeah, you know that these tassels, that is what they're referring to as Irukere. So now that that has been explained, let's go back to what we were reading. No one built a house. Oh, sorry, I'm not even done with the Kogbagberukere. Actually, Kogbagberukere. Apologize. I read that as a first statement. Aki kole kagbagbe. The book said ote. Actually, the book said domi ote. So I'm not familiar with that. Here it is rere ote. So, but it's translated as roof. So it has to, because this was written in 1972. When was I even born? I wasn't alive in 1991. So you can be sure that I'm pretty young. It must be an old Yoruba word, or it must be at least where Oguniro is from. It might be one of the, maybe Domi Ote. I'm not exactly sure. I can't remember where I found it. I think I went down, but I don't want to. Again, I'm reserving reading the book for maybe sometime close to December. So we can have some real fun. But I'm not quite familiar with this word. Please, I'm young. But the book said it's at least this the 1972 version. Okay, I can't write it, but forget it. At least I tried. So whether it's ote, actually, let me see. Going to see if I can find it. 68. Okay, so I finally found it. I was determined to find it. It's on page 68, in the original version, 1972 version, but it's on... Actually, it's on 68 on this one as well. Why did I think, oh my god. For some reason, maybe I didn't look carefully, but it says, Aki Koli. We don't do this anymore. This is so 1972. Combine words, but then put the apostrophe. I had to catch myself on that earlier on, when I started making videos on this channel, because I did. Maybe my soul remembers doing that, when you want to combine words. Actually, not really, because my recent incarnations were not Yoruba. I think my first one, or maybe my first or second one, I was Yoruba, and I've been around, so that was a long time ago, even before we began to write. But domi ote is what the book says, and here it says riri ote. So really, I don't know who to believe. This is an old word, so we don't know who to believe. But anyway, let's proceed. Àsùnkàn ní ti iyè, báfẹ́fẹ́ bá fẹ́, inú ẹ̀ẹ̀kan á láyè. Àsùnkàn ní ti iyè, báfẹ́fẹ́ bá fẹ́, inú ẹ̀ẹ̀kan á láyè. Bákòókò bá gbóná pìpì, iyè inú rẹ̀ á... Okay, sorry, what is this? What did I just say? Gbóná. Gbóná is hot. Bádìyẹ bá gbọ́n pa. Bádìyẹ bá gbọ́n pa. Apá is arm. Bádìyẹ is gbọ́n shake, the way that chickens would often shake themselves. Even dogs do it, and cats, they just, though it's not necessarily their arms, it's for the cats and dogs, they're their whole body, maybe after a bath or something. See? Okay, yeah, this is well combined. I think as opposed to the way that it's combined here with the apostrophe. Again, we don't do the apostrophe anymore. So this is, Baba is a scholar. The Baba that wrote this is a scholar. So he's not doing what has been done in the book. The way of writing has definitely changed and improved. And significantly too. Bákùkọ bá gbọ́n pa pìpì, iye inú rẹ̀ á là. Ọ̀nà mẹ́rìndínlógún lewé oníyeyé fi lujú. Gbogbo rẹ̀ ní fi mumi. Ojúmọ́ kì í mọ́. Kẹ́nu ìmọ̀ ó má jí. Now, what did the book say? Is it ìmọ̀? Yeah, kẹ́nu ìmọ̀. Actually, kẹ́nu redo, kẹ́nu ìmọ̀. I don't know if it's ìmọ̀ or ìmọ̀. Sometimes dialects are different as well. Whose dialect do I stick with? Maybe in the writer Guniron's dialect, they say ìmọ̀. Maybe in Baba Opola's, they are both Babas. Maybe in Baba's, this Baba's dialect, they say, where's it? I lost it. Ìmọ̀. So, but really, I think it's this. I think it's ìmọ̀. But please don't be mad. Don't be mad if that's not how you say it. Kí ìmọ̀ ó má jí, èjì ogbè bá mi gbé iye ọ̀jẹ̀ládé wá. So all of this is Inca. Ishukita kó gbàgbé òǹgó. This is Incantation. Àgbàdo kì í ọmọ kó gbàgbé ìrùkẹ̀rẹ̀. This is 2. Okay. Kó gbàgbé ìrùkẹ̀rẹ̀. This is 2. That was a failed 2. Akíkọ́lé ká gbàgbé òtè. This is 3. Excuse me. Àsùnkàn ní ti iyè. That's 4. Báfẹ́fẹ́ bá fẹ́, inú ẹ̀ẹ̀kan á lá iyè. Sorry, á lá iyè. Iyè is life. And I'm going to talk about Yoruba words that have slightly different tone marks on, even different tone marks, different meanings. Iye is mother, Iye is life. Iye is consciousness or awareness. So Welcome to the Yoruba language. It's a pleasure to have you. Okay, a matured yam does not forget the yam set. The maize cob does not forget its horse tail. No one builds a house and forgets the roof. During sleep, the art memory remains alive. If the wind blows, the air gives way. Now, I hope it's correct here, or I hope it's the same here. Now, this Baba says dodore ekon. Ekon can be one. Ekon. See, I don't know all these things. See, westernization. Westernization is batoluareje. I don't know all these things. So, yeah, we're having a problem with these interesting words that I've never come across. Okon is one, ekon is once. But I don't know like what it means as far as giving way is concerned. So you have to forgive me. Now you see why it's Yoruba lessons with Adirunke, not Yoruba lessons from Adirunke. The interesting about this culture is you never stop learning. When the cock flips its feathers, I was going to say fingers, I don't know why, excuse me, it regains its memory. The Oniyeye leaf, now, what did they say? Remi dodo, Oniyeye. Okay, in the book, in the original, they say Oniyeye. Here it says Oniyeye. So, who do I believe? I don't even know what you call the leaf in English, safe. So it could be Oniyeye. It could be Oniyeye because there's a ni here. What you call n in English, ni. There's Oniyeye here, so it could be that. I would personally like to go with that because this one sounds more like it. Actually, not really. I feel like this one sounds more like it. I feel like Oniyeye sounds more like it. Oh God. Let's just move on. The Oniyeye leaf has 16 openings. It all absorbs water. The openings on the leaf absorb water. The palm leaf blows daily. A joke will bring back the memory of Ojelade. The above excerpt depicts that Anshetu used incantation positively to free her husband from the bondage of mental derailment. This is because when Anshetu called her husband after the incantation, he responded promptly. Again, this book also sort of like touches on the importance of women. Even within the Oje family, you know, you can't underestimate. I feel like Yoruba spirituality as a whole, you know, is it Aboru Aboya and Aboshishe that you want to talk about? Is it even Yashake of the Ogbonis? Is it, you know, for the Oshun, Obatala, Ifa, Shango priestesses, and, you know, queens, really? You can't underestimate the importance of women in any society. So, you know, but let's not talk about women again because now this video is going to be 15 hours long. This incident proves the use of incantation as a means of communication beyond reasonable doubt. Another evidence of the efficacy of incantation occurred in the novel when Ojelade and Duduyemi competed for the post of Baale Areku Egún. Areku is like the one who buys the Eku, who like gets it ready and you know, it goes beyond just like buying or anything, you know, preparing it, you know, for the, please don't call it psychic mediumship, and don't call it ascension or descension because really Oru is anywhere, you know. There could be a spirit that really resides on earth. The late person I'm saying, there could be, I've explained it in the Oru video, you know, is Oru heaven, is heaven up, not necessarily. The Yoruba belief is not that heaven is up and hell is down. That doesn't relate to our culture in any way, shape or form. So don't call it ascension of a spirit or descension. No, please don't. You find ascension and descension in the Yoruba story of recreation, but when it comes to Orun, we don't exactly know what direction. Your soul can come from any direction. We don't insist that it has to be from the north or anything. A masquerade chieftaincy title. Ojelade challenged Duduyemi to recite Dodomi, Iyeru Okin. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my pronunciation right. I don't want to pronounce it like an English person. Iyeru Okin Olofa Mojo, that is lineage descriptive poetry. Instead of rendering the lineage poetry, Duduyemi started coughing and vomiting blood. Besides, it was totally destabilized by horrible cold, and the audience were amazed that Ojelade was able to conquer Duduyemi with incantations. Later, a chief with incantation, but really he combined one or two or three more. He used like no one. Matured yam does not forget the yam set. That's incantation 1, and the maize cob does not forget its oat tail. That's incantation 2, and no one builds a house and forgets the roof. You see, this one is a societal based awful. So that's 3. During sleep, the attribute, there's 4. You just take a couple of facts. You can combine. Really, you just take a fact. You don't need more than one incantation. If you wish, and many times you want to buttress your prayer even further, so you use more than one. But these are all complete incantations in and of themselves. The author has just chosen to combine them for the purpose of the character. I combine them this way. So if you see Ojumo Kimo Kenu, now we don't know if this is Imo or Imo, Omaji, and you see if you see one come before the other or anything, or you see Baku Koba when a cock, in the case of the chicken, when it shakes its feathers, it becomes more conscious, more aware, more awake. So that's an incantation. So really, as long as it's a complete sentence, it's a statement, that's an incantation. Later, a chief notified the king to plead with Ojelade to free Duduyemi from the magical bondage. Then Ojelade responded positively to the king's plea and chanted the following incantation. Duduyemi tara gberanle odide. Onta wifogbologbo. Omo amowe ko gberanle odide. See? Duduyemi gberanle odide. This is a prayer, a wish. Sometimes I just say wish because sometimes what is a prayer to you can be a curse to someone else, and what is a curse to someone else may be a prayer to you. So you just say wish. Duduyemi taragberanle odide. See, now there's an incantation. Sorry, my thing is not so good. Oh my god. Okay, this is let's just say this is incantation. See, if it was Duduyemi, this way, this person, as this character, Ojelade, has placed, and that's usually the way we would do it as Yoruba people. You say incantations, you say prayers, or you say prayers, you say incantation. If the author had wanted, they may have added Tori, Tori, because okay, this is a fail. I was trying to write with it, but it's not working. Tori, okay, forget it. Tori, but you don't have to. Again, the Tori aspect is not compulsory. Duduyemi taragberanle odide onta wifogbolobongo omo amo. This is another wish. Is the Ojelade is just saying, telling Duduyemi, it's like we say praying for somebody, but really you're not. It's not like, forget the idea of the Christian prayer. You're wishing on somebody, so you're using your ashe to command a positive change in them. It could be that maybe they've been X'd or something, and their ashe is not strong, and it's like it's weak. Their physical man is weak and cannot reverse what has been done to them because they need help. Okay, the ashe is not able to overcome. So someone else may use their own ashe and wishing on them, commanding them. They're using their own ashe to get them to go back to their normal self. So it's like you're commanding somebody, you know, you're using your ashe on them. It's a form of prayer. See, when you think about prayer and you bring it to the Yoruba context, we have a problem. We will have a big problem because they don't exactly always work the same way. In the Christian setting, you don't pray to someone and say, oh, get up now, I command thee. Okay, actually, yeah, I suppose they do it, but they like do it in the name of Jesus, and they like cite some incantations from the Bible, what you call Bible texts. They're incantations, especially when they apply to that situation, or at least you apply them as incantations, and the person, you know, is well. So, wish incantation, wish. Did get up, you know, get up. See, now it is not as opposed to how it was earlier. Now it is so it's changed. You can change the words, or you could even say taba wifogba omangba, or you could even say ba wifogba agba. You know, when you tell Ogba accepts it. You can flip a statement, okay? You can flip the words within an incantation. This is an incantation. You can change the word. Okay, I don't know why I just did that. Oh my God. Let's undo that. You can flip the words. You can change things. You can really. You don't have to stick to like, oh, because this person said it exactly this way and they said all these things. You know. Okay, let's just come to an end with it. Ọ̀rọ̀ tá sọ fọ́gbà lọ gbàgbà, ọ̀rọ̀ tó kété bá sọ fúnlẹ̀ nílẹ̀ gbọ́, dúdú yẹmí gbéra lé òdìdí ọjọ́ lọ sí. These are incantations. Okay, let me do this. This is an incantation. This is a wish. This is a wish. This is a wish. Stand up. The child of Amowu, get up. Ọ̀rọ̀ tá sọ fún ọgbà lọ gbàgbà. You know, this is an incantation. Ọ̀rọ̀ tékété bá sọ fúnlẹ̀ nílẹ̀ gbọ́, that's another incantation. This is a wish. Gbéra lé òdìdí ọjọ́ lọ, dúdú yẹmí, get up. We're running out of time. Dúdú yẹmí ìkọ́. Ìkọ́ is like it's sort of like you hear it a lot in oríkìs, you know, it's sort of like a praise thing as well. Dúdú yẹmí ọmọ Okunla. Now Ojelade is praising Dudu Yemi at this point. You know, Omo Okunla, child of like, you know, the wealthy lineage and all that. So now this is a praise. This is not even a prayer. This is not even a wish at this point. This is an oríkì. Dudu Yemi Beranle Wonibawi. You know, get up. I'm talking to you. So this is a wish. So is only this and this and this. These are the only incantations in the statements. So this. I don't know why my mouse. Oh my God, just forget it. Okay, these three are the only incantations in that thing. Let's quickly bring this to an end. I'm getting tired. Dudu Yemi, wake up and stand up. Ogba heard what we tell it. Or Ogba, actually it's Ogba hears what we tell it. Son of Amohoiko. Again, it's like a praise. Whenever you see ara oríkì náà ni wọ́n jọ lẹ̀pọ̀ náà ni wọ́n jọ jẹ̀pọ̀ náà ni. Son of Amohoiko, wake up and stand up. What we tell Igba. Èwo ni Igba? Èwo ni redo Igba? What we tell Ogba ni o. Tàbá wí fọ́gbà ni kò ṣe Ogba o. Anyway, what we tell Ogba is what Ogba hears. What the big rat, òkété. Ṣé báwo la ṣe máa pò òkété big rat? Ṣé big rat? Kájà sọ pé big rat. What the big rat tells the earth, it will accept. Dudu Yemi, wake up and stand up. Time is going. We're running out of time. Dudu Yemi ko, offspring of Okunla. You know, like a descendant of Okunla. or like offspring, because offspring is Omo. So yeah, you could say that. And many times Omo may not necessarily just be like the immediate father-child relation. It could be like a lineage. Dudu Yemi, wake up, I'm talking to you. The outcome of the data above reveals that Dudu Yemi was totally relieved from the bondage of Ojelade's magical incantation. In light of this, both competitors danced together to celebrate Dudu Yemi's freedom. It is apparent to note that the efficacy of magical incantation cannot be overemphasized during public performance by the popular Yoruba Alárìnjó masquerades as a means of communication. It will be recalled that before Christianity and Islam gained prominence in the Yoruba society, Alárìnjó masquerades were among the well-known traditional public entertainers. During their performances, see, they still exist, but now they are fewer. Many youth that are not even from the Oje family, unfortunately, try their hands on it, you know, in the more traditional areas, try their hands on it and like make money from people. Many times though, they can be really, they do things that were never done in the past. They can be really aggressive. Sometimes they're, you know, knocking on your car, especially all those ageres. Oh no, you are. They're very annoying. They will knock on your. Those ones are just like the youth being funny, I suppose. Like they demand for money, and sometimes they can be a little bit aggressive. So they've actually spoilt the tradition. Now they are more of like, to the average Nigerian that really doesn't respect traditions whatsoever, except to use the language and wear the clothes, like many people do even outside the country. They consider, they truly consider them like public nuisances. So they exist, but they are fewer, and they are not really. And when you say Alárìnjó, it's not okay. Maybe they don't even exist, because the ones that exist, well, you could say Alárìnjó, but those ones just like go home in the morning and return in the evening. These ones were like, when you say tourists, they would tour. So they will go from village, Aba Kinikan Aba Oni, Aba Modakeke, Aba this, Aba Yemen, Aba. They just go to like, they keep touring. It's not like they go in the morning and they return in the evening. You know, these ones used to like really tour. So, anyway, let's continue reading and then we can bring it to a close. During their performances, magical incantation was often used to show who was who among the masquerades, sort of like to brag, I suppose. I'll show you who I am. Chanting of magical incantation, and also like to identify them. But usually you would identify an Egúngún by their costume. So really, it's not really to know who is who, but really to know who is who, to show power. Chanting of magical incantation was a way of displaying their superiority over one another among the masquerades, especially when two or more people were competing for the chieftaincy title, like what transpired between Ojelade and Dudu Yemi in the novel Eégún Aláré, where the data for this study were drawn. It could also be invented when the masquerades want to entertain their spectators for excuse me, apologize, for money. Okay, for money. Again, you expect some kind of reward. However, it is pertinent to note that Western education, Christianity and Islam have made the use of incantation as a means of communication during masquerade performances greatly reduced in the Yoruba. I mean, the performances themselves have been significantly reduced. Everyone watches TV now. This is because what used to be a family profession in the past is no longer so. Yes, people still do it, but they don't really consider it their family profession. Like you see people from Oje families now becoming doctors. Again, I was saying it in when I did like the reading for it's funny that I remembered when I did the reading for the year, and I was saying that because your family is a family of it's funny how everything is tying together. It's because your family is a family of drummers or like Egúngún persons. Don't think that, oh, I would never become a medical doctor, I would never be able to handle it. I have to always center myself around like things that have to do with the Egúngún and that's all I'm good for, despite the fact that I feel like I could be a really good medical doctor and stuff, you know. Don't limit yourself. I mean, I'm not saying don't. Oh, please do not try not to pay attention to your double negatives. Don't ever, you know, say that now, you know, I'm going to become a medical doctor and my people are barbaric and there's a way that you can even incorporate that with your field, you know. Encourage your ancestors to be with you when you're performing operations and when you're performing surgeries and when you're healing people. So these things go hand in hand. Don't ever feel like you can ignore one completely or totally. You can do both and do both well. So don't ever let any ancestral thing hold you back. Anyway, be whoever you want to be. You know, spread your wings, but still remember where you wrote your many tonshi. So, you know, remember where you are from and really what you are. Therefore, the two religions condemn the Alárìnjó masquerade among the Yoruba because the preachers claim it does not conform with the way of God. Yeah, apart from the fact that even westernization fought against these practices and, you know, they are slowly dying and people don't respect them and their art. Ajayi crowd oh. Nǹkan tẹ́ ṣe bí tẹ́ bá wá dé, ibi ẹ bá wá dé, a ò mọ̀ pé a lè débẹ̀ o. Anyway, thank you for helping the Yoruba language become a written language, but like, no thanks to you for letting people think that you know, significant traditions that we've always had somehow are satanic. But anyway, with all respect, you know, I feel like at this point, Baba Jaikon is already wondering, when is this girl going to let me be and just like forgive me or whatever. We forgive you though. We forgive you though. Anyway, they say any member or members who continue to patronize or promote this cultural heritage will not enter the kingdom of God. Okay, let me just leave the man. The spirit at this point. This kind of fear created in the minds of Christians and Muslims encouraged them to run, actually, and it still does encourage them to run away from what can make them lose the kingdom of God at the end of their life. Who wants to burn in hell? I feel like, why do Yoruba people now fear? You see, when you don't know yourself, see, that's what happens, you know. We're so scared of fire now, you know, you just don't want to be anywhere in fire. Anyway, sorry, I'm just making myself laugh, really. I apologize, let me just go on. Western education has also made the popularity of the popular Alárìnjó performers to become a thing of the past or a primitive event. Oh yes, people just look down. Please, I remember. See, they are, and also even the art itself has been bastardized. All kinds of youth just doing whatever they want. Sometimes they knock on your you know, the window of your car and they say "Fumilo, Fumilo," and they're literally begging for things that were really not the thing in the past. You know, the violence and the aggression. Not violence, but like they can be pretty aggressive. And sometimes, you know, a lot of them are not aggressive. I feel like most of them are not aggressive, but like they just insist that you have to give them money. And you know, and all that for a practice that has already lost a significant aspect of, you know, the respect that people used to have for it, that doesn't necessarily help either. Some who are neither Christians nor Muslims who have acquired Western education have either lost contact with their roots or are no longer interested in such a thing. So, in other words, Western education encourages people to look for white-collar jobs at different locations, either within or outside the Yoruba land. Exactly. Like even now, stage drama, let alone the Alárìnjó performers or performances, even now, stage drama in certain parts of Nigeria and the world is considered old and archaic. Who wants to do stage drama anymore? You know, but you see, the art of stage dramas is sort of dying now. Everyone wants to be on the big TV or any kind of TV whatsoever, whether or not it's, you know, the big TV. So really, you know, times have changed, you know, with the advent of technology. Special thanks to Egúngún for everything that it does. But you know, the intention, don't let's use technology. See, brings us back to Afrofuturism and how technology comes into play with that, and how you can know more about your own culture, connect with more of your own people and stuff with technology. But let's not go into that right now. The situation makes the popular Alárìnjó traveling theatre foreign or strange to the children of the educated ones. Oh yes. As a result, the younger generation does not see the popular Alárìnjó masquerade of the past as a progressive or an important event. Oh yes. Conclusion, finally. We are shown that previous researchers claim that incantation is an important aspect of Yoruba oral literature. And it can be divided into 3 categories: chant, song, and recitation. Sorry, how long is the conclusion? Okay, not too bad. However, in this paper, we focus on incantation as a means of communication. I feel like this is really like the abstract, so I've read this. We submit that incantation, which is traceable to the sanyìn deity, to actually not just the sanyìn deity. I don't really know what is going on here. Not just your sanyìn deity, but like, you know, whatever, can be defined as a combination of carefully arranged speeches or words. Again, wrong. Okay, so okay, this study has shown that communication chain of sender code receiver feedback can be nullified with the use of incantation. You know, the sender of the message here relies on the efficacies of his incantation, which can be directed to a non-speaker of his language. So these are all the beautiful works that have been cited. I feel like I should check this one out. Okay, let's maybe I feel like there's something I should be remembering from the 1932s. Yeah, maybe later on I'll understand what that's about, because my attention went straight to it. But yeah, please watch my video on incantations. I pretty much go into significant details, so you know, please check that out. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Please turn on your post notifications and everything and everything and everything that I've forgotten to say.